Hello and welcome together to the last software update in this year from Loxone, our last release. The config and app 15.3 is here, and with me is my colleague Lukas Eigelsberger from our config team, the config mastermind, let's say. Lukas, welcome. Let's jump right in. We have very interesting new features, some things where people were just pleasing us a long time. Let's do this. So jump right in. The first thing is the Honeywell Security integration. What's that about?
Yeah, now you can seamlessly integrate Honeywell alarm systems into the Loxone config system.
Okay.
So if you have a certified alarm system, you can now simply integrate it and view the status, and depending on the certification level, also control it, like disarming the system, arming the system, viewing the status of the system, of course, maybe if a burglar alarm has triggered or a fire alarm has triggered, and so on.
So this is a very important point, the certification. This is something where people are very aware of this topic regarding to security and alarm systems. So how does the communication go on here? So how do we communicate with the system? Is it unidirectional? Is it bidirectional? Is it both?
It can be either one of those. So when unidirectional, we only see the statuses of the system, so we don't, so the certification remains active.
Okay.
And the bidirectional system, we then can also control the alarm system and, for example, arm the system or disarm it.
Okay, and in this case, there won't be the certification anymore, but this is something which must be done on the Honeywell side in this case, in the Honeywell configuration. There you can set up if you want to have the unidirectional or bidirectional communication. If it's unidirectional, as Lukas told us, we just get the status, and we can use that for further more logic in our own Loxone config in that case.
Exactly, we can take a look at it in Loxone config, for example. Here we have already the system integrated. You can add it under the network periphery on the network device. Have to enter the IP address and the username of the system. You have to configure the Honeywell system beforehand. Have to add a smart building license to the Honeywell system, and then Loxone config can connect and view the statuses.
Yeah.
From the Honeywell system, you export the configuration file, which then can be imported into Loxone config, and then all inputs and outputs will get created. For example, we can view the status of a door, and in this case also unlatch it, for example.
Okay, and that's a very important point. We can see it up there, the load configuration file. As Lukas told us, this is something you have to export from the Honeywell system. And if you then afterwards do some configurations on the Honeywell side, you have to export this configuration file again and then import it into the Loxone config. But if you do so and you miss to import the new file into the Loxone config, then you will get an error message from our side, from Loxone side, so that you know, okay, I missed something there, and then you have to re-import it. And then you can use it for all the logics you want to have.
Yeah, exactly. You can view the statuses. You can even trigger a text-to-speech or the Loxone alarm with the audio player. When the alarm gets triggered, you have the different alarm types in here and can use them and integrate them into your system.
Okay, so this is a very important point, that we now can integrate certified alarm systems into the Loxone system and can use it for our own logics. The next thing in Loxone config and app 15.3 goes to our DALI extension. There is something new. What is it, Lukas?
Yeah, the DALI extension now supports a broadcast mode. Broadcast mode means it's not necessary to learn all the devices. When I, for example, have a use case where I have 10 devices connected to the DALI extension and only want to control them all the same way. So,
yeah.
For example, in a restaurant, all the lights on the bar, they're all controlled the same manner. And in this case, I use the broadcast mode. I don't have to learn them, and I have one actor and just can control them.
Okay, that's a very cool thing. I hear the finally from a lot of partners who are integrating DALI a lot of times. So how do we use that in Loxone config? What do we have to do here?
In Loxone config, it's a simple setting. So switching from individual devices to broadcast mode. And after that, I have one actor here, which I can use on my light controller, and I can control all connected DALI devices.
Oh, that's very nice.
This has the major benefit if, for example, a light is broken, I just pull it out and put a new one in. I don't have to replace it, learn it, or anything else. It just works again.
Okay, that's a very time-saving feature, and yeah, time our partners can use for or can use to do new projects and don't have to waste time on site here with that. And it's free update, so it doesn't cost you anything, but it saves you time. You can use more valuable. Let's jump right into the next topic. We're straightforward on that day. If it's too fast for you, you can read all the things on our blog on the website. You can see the changelog for all the full features. The next thing goes to MQTT.
Yeah, we have another free of charge feature, another network protocol like UDP, HTTP, like we already have. We now support MQTT. So the Miniserver can now be an MQTT client and send commands to an MQTT broker or also receive values from it.
Okay, how does it work? Let's show us.
In Loxone config, you just add again on the network periphery the MQTT client. I already have here. Enter the broker address and port. A broker could be some big server in the cloud, but it could also be a small computer in my home. Yeah. I have to enter username and password if required by the broker, and also if communication is encrypted or not. And then I can insert up to 16 publish outputs or 16 subscription inputs.
Yeah.
So subscription would be I can subscribe to a value from the broker. So if another client or a device sends a value, or it could also be a Miniserver to the broker, I will receive an update in here and can use the value. Publish is the other way around. So I can send a value from the Miniserver to the broker.
Okay.
For example, here I have one publish and also a subscription input, and on my computer I have a MQTT client software running also, and I can see here the values and can see here, okay, the last value for my publish was 4, and for the text value I can also send a different text, and I will immediately, or I will receive the value in here. Important to note, the inputs are updated only every 2 seconds, and outputs are also delayed by 2 seconds.
Okay, and as Lucas told you, it's a totally free of charge additional feature, a really upgrade to the system, and you don't have to pay for it as it is always with the Loxone software updates. It's completely free, and it's every update we had this year or in the last years are really at least so much features that are important for the upcoming projects and then the existing projects. That's really a big value in that case. So what could be a use case here?
You could use for energy monitoring. If you already have a MQTT broker running somewhere monitoring any values, you could integrate other devices into the Loxone Miniserver with it.
Okay.
Anything you can think of.
Okay, very, very cool. Next thing where we are talking about automation is the thing where I think at least a lot of people has been waiting for. It's an automated mail delivery of loggers.
Yeah, we already had the automated delivery for statistic files. So I get the statistic file sent to me at the end of each month or at the start of the new week, and now it's possible the same for loggers.
Yeah.
So for example, use case would be my car charging. I want to log the kilowatt hours I have charged into my company car at home, and I want to send the mail to my office, for example, after the end of the month.
Yeah.
And in Loxone config, it's a simple setting. So I have a logger here which writes values to the log file. Select a mailer, which should be used for mailing, and then decide, okay, when should it be sent, daily, weekly, or monthly. And when I select monthly, I will get at the morning of the first day in the next month, I will receive the whole file for the past month.
Yeah. Okay. So this is also something, as Lucas told us, many people are using company cars, wall boxes, want to log their charging, their chargings, and now you can send them automatically via email to any address you want. Next thing for Loxone config, even I know now the winter is coming, but this goes all out to all our gardening fans out there, the Gardena integration.
Yeah, you now can integrate Gardena devices. It could be, for example, irrigation control, also a lawnmower, and you can integrate it like any other devices, for example, of Home Connect or Miele or Husqvarna.
Yeah.
When we look at it in here in Loxone config, you can see here the Gardena thing. I have inserted again here above here and then add network device. I have to log in with my Gardena account, then discover the devices. And in this case, I here have a garden sensor which measures my soil humidity and temperature.
Okay, so this is something which you could, let's say, play around in the next months while we're in the winter season, and then, regarding where you are in the world, so Loxone is international, maybe you're sitting somewhere where it's quite very humid at the moment, and sunny Florida or something like that, so you could use it there. Let's play around with it a little bit, and then as soon as the gardening season starts again, jump right into it. Lucas, thanks for that. You can see all the changes in the changelog, and now we have another thing for you. We have another guest in our live stream today, because one of the major releases from Loxone in this year was Exosphere. The Exosphere platform was one of the big things, and one of the things which revolutionized the way we are organizing, monitoring, and using home and building automation projects. So Markus Dulgi is here, the CEO of Trigo, who invented the software, who programmed the Exosphere. So what's new in that version with Exosphere?
Hi. Yes, today I'm happy to introduce Exosphere databases and the corresponding function blocks in Loxone config. So as you know, with Loxone, new features often are created because of its own needs, right? And here at the Loxone campus, for example, in Kollerschlag, employees have the chance to have lunch in the Glorious Bastards, the restaurant here at the campus, right? Yeah. But of course, you have to do some billing, right? And with the new Exosphere databases, we give all the partners now the chance to use the same solution Loxone uses internally. Right, a ready-made solution, easy to use to track transactions coming from Miniservers. All right, I would say let's dive right in.
Let's show us how it is working on the Exosphere side, the new databases.
Exactly. So now under data and databases, you find the new feature Exosphere databases. Right, in here you can create a new database. So what is a database? I guess each and every one knows Excel, for example. Excel is the simplest form of a database, right? You have many rows with many columns. And Exosphere databases are kind of the same. So when you set up a new database within Exosphere, you give it a title and a database ID, and can then define columns. Let's take a look at the example I prepared, right? So I have this billing database right here. And we see we have some rows within this database and across some columns, right? So for this billing example, we of course need the user. So the user here at the Loxone campus, of course, is authenticated through the key card with the NFC code touch, right? That's how we track the user. And some article ID, right? Which lunch did you have? Did you have the vegan option or the meat option, right? And this can be defined in here when you define the database schema, right? So you can add some columns to your database, define a data type, and in this way, easily define the structure of your data. Okay. Of course, you could also define a mail delivery for these database data in here. So now let's take a look how this data is coming to the Exosphere database.
Yeah.
Let's switch over to the Loxone config.
Because in that, to make that happen, it was necessary that we need also new function blocks. And these are the event database connector and the session database connector. And now, Markus, you will explain us what is the difference between them both and how can we use them?
Exactly. So first, there's one single requirement to use the new database connector function blocks, which is your Miniserver has to be connected to Exosphere. Once your Miniserver is connected to Exosphere, you see this Exosphere network periphery, right? And in here, you can now create your database tables. That's the first step to make this connection between your Miniserver and Exosphere databases. Right? In here, you have to define the same table ID you defined on the Exosphere side of things. Let's give it some ID, billing, for example. And then you can define your columns, same as within the Exosphere portal. Okay. But to not have to do it twice the same way, you can import existing database schemas. Right?
Okay, that's very cool.
This
so
billing example.
Not the double of work here.
Yeah.
So just one time in Exosphere and then import it to the Loxone config.
Of course. Yes. And once you did that, you have the schema in here. I now selected a different database as I showed previously. And once you did define your database connection in the network periphery, you can now insert your database connector function blocks. And there we have two different options. Let's take a look at the simpler option first, which is the event database connector. So the event database connector is all about tracking transactions that happen at a point in time, right? Like consumption. You put your key card to the NFC code touch, your consumption is registered at that point in time, and this can be done through the event database connector.
Okay.
So let's start the live view to emulate a consumption right now through a virtual input, right? So I connected some markers and virtual inputs to my database connector, and now I can just trigger a sending of a row to my Exosphere database by triggering this trigger input, right? I set the user ID and this CI1 input. So what's that all about? How is this now mapped to my database columns? This can be done in this function block dialog, right? In here, you have your columns as defined in the database.
Yeah.
This database is connected through an API connector, right? And now I have my columns from the database in here. I can now map several different properties to my database, like, for example, some user properties like the username, first name, last name, etc. I can use an input value like I did with the article input right there. I can use formulas or just some static custom text. Of course, like with the light controller, I can also give my inputs some nice names to make it easier to use.
So, but to mention that again, I think we missed it before. We just have to drag the database.
Exactly.
We now insert it before, and you see, okay, the block is blinking, the function block, so it knows exactly where to map it if we drag it on, and then just leave it, and then it will be connected in that case to the API connector, and the rest is the Loxone magic.
Exactly. And as soon as I've done that, the connection is established, and I can start sending data to my database.
Okay, cool. So let's jump to the second function block we have.
Yes, the session database connector. So this is all about tracking sessions which have a separate start and end time, right? Lucas mentioned it before, tracking wallbox charging sessions.
Okay.
At the Loxone campus, there are lots of wall boxes installed, right? And employees and guests of the campus can use those wall boxes to charge their car. And of course, we have to track these consumptions, right? And with this example, I prepared a wall box function block, and I also prepared this session database connector. Now I've just connected my session start and session end outputs to the inputs on the database connector side. And voila, I can now start sending those charging sessions to my Exosphere database.
Okay, let's simulate it. Let's think we have our virtual car here, connect vehicle, and so if you start it, okay, we have seen it up there. Okay, the on of the start is triggered immediately.
Exactly. So as soon as I start the charging sessions, I have my rows in the database. So I see also running charging sessions, not only finished ones. I see, okay, the consumption is ongoing. Now I disconnect my virtual vehicle.
Okay.
Voila.
Then we see the end is triggered on the
Exactly.
function block.
Exactly. Of course, the whole user authentication is also done through the typical ways, like you do with wall boxes, right? So I just forward the user ID to my session database connector, map it to my database, and if we take a look again into the Exosphere portal, into my Wallbox charging sessions database, I now see, well, we have another charging session, including the price coming from the spot price optimizer function block, right? And also the used energy from the Wallbox.
Okay, very cool. And we can use that also, we can now export it, right?
Right. To make use of this data, you probably have to import it into some third-party system or just use Excel to do some calculations, and you can export this data as a CSV file to do some further processing.
All right. Thank you for that, Marcos. A very great feature. So you heard it. It's all about the little bit of billing in that config release, because now we have the automated logger mail deliveries. We have now the databases here in Exosphere, but the databases, it must not be charging sessions. It could be any event you like to trigger this here and to export it to your database schemes. So thanks for that, Marcus. You can also find all of the information you heard here now on our knowledge base on our website. You can find the full changelog on our website. And now just saying thank you for tuning in. Leave a subscription on our YouTube channel, leave a like, drop a comment if you have different questions to that config version, and then just download it and have fun with the Config It app 15.3. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.